Hey, how's it going? Hey, something happened last night. I got some curse got broken. There might be other ones somebody's trying to set up, but a nice little trine of curses, spells got broken last night. Why? Well, that's part of how these things occur. When somebody puts a spell on you or they bind you, part of the power has to do with you not knowing exactly what they said or did, or being able to identify the source. It's one of those reasons why you're supposed to keep your spell book secret, right? Now, if we're talking about civil discourse or if we're talking about civic participation, it's supposed to be public. They make laws on public information, mandated reporting happens for a reason. Confidentiality, in many cases, most cases actually, is not mandated if you're in a public reporter or mandated reporting role. It's part of the thing about whistleblowers. They had this law they were trying to pass in the autumn of 2017 about refusing to allow somebody to make a anonymous whistleblower report. Why? Well, you could say, well, they might retaliate against me. They might. But the thing is that because of the surveillance state we live in, by the time they get your whistleblower report, the people locally that you're most concerned about already know. So when you confidentialize it or you submit it anonymously, all that does is let somebody at a higher level take your report and take what they want and like about it and put it in their report. And then they get credit as if they've done work. And they may have completely decontextualized your report, or they might do what I suspect they've done, which is put a trust agreement together on my efforts to contact the Supreme Court in Texas, and then after the 4-year term, decided they were going to cash it out. And they were going to allow for it to be pegged to a DOD report about whistleblower retaliation. But only 3 days, 72 hours after a report about hiring cyber security personnel. See, if you say to somebody, you've got complications that are impacting you biophysiologically because you were cybernetically enhanced, and we're doing some reprogramming and or we're doing some upgrades, and in the course of that it may be causing you physical or even emotional distress, and so we need you to seek medical treatment. That's a lot different than sending them to a hospital and saying, I'm sorry, you've got a genetic disorder and you're mentally ill and you're disabled and you're going to have to be on medication in order for you to be qualified to do all of these other jobs, right? And then if they sit on it for 7 years, what can they say, right? That's exactly what we're dealing with right now. And the problem is they had no business doing that. If they did, then they should have responded to my report to the Senate Judiciary Committee when there was a public notice posted regarding whistleblower reports concerning the Department of Defense and a missing $500 million. See, that's not the kind of thing your staff member says, well, let's just kick it back local until we can hook up a couple contract bids and then a couple years down the road get totally fucking busted trying to sell off people, actual people who are American citizens that could have actually been responsible in a constitutional, legislative, or executive, or even judicial process as what? XCOM for the changes that went into effect regarding the congressional pension system and the presidential pension system last month. Some transactions are so big, they take a month to clear, right? And that's exactly what you're doing, except you're not. You're not going to be able to get away with doing that. You're going to have to stop that today. I apologize. If you were expecting that you had already hooked up your deal with whichever president, because we got a couple presidents here, which president is going to get what share of this pool? There's more than one president, the former president alive, and presumably all of them are eligible for some sort of augmentation or modification to the existing presidential pension system. Who is going to get what groupings of what blocks of human capital that's been force consolidated within the United States in the last 2 years? Well, they've completely lied to us about what's actually going on. See, my understanding is you plan to close that with that bond in Kennebunkport in 2 days. And by that time, I'm supposed to be out, right? No. That is not acceptable. Not under any way, shape, or form. You also don't have agency, by the way, to try to assassinate a president in order to open up any more liquidity. If you didn't get what you needed out of Morsi and you did not get what you needed out of the former president of Haiti, that's not my fault. Oh, wait, we didn't. Because we needed prosecutions for assassination of heads of state, including heads of state that were in conflict zones. including heads of state that were implicated in a court proceeding and on site in the court at the time it happened. Do you know what kind of coverage you can get if you could get on one of those policies that's been illegally underwritten about a whistleblower report connected to foul play involving a judicial process for a former president? Yeah, I think you do, and that's what you're banking on. How many other people did you get tested out on the Texas circuit in the last 4 years when they've been pinging whistleblower reports specifically for the ISDs off of contracts with weapons companies? That's exactly what you've been doing for the last 4 years. You created an automated process to, among other things, launder huge amounts of assets through the police pension system as payoffs for them to simulate ops that their friends in private security end up implementing in other countries. And now we've got a really, really big problem, right? Because you want us all to believe you don't have the money and you don't have the means to actually get done what we need to get done. And you want us to aid and abet you, trying to obligate us to trillions of dollars more debt service for all of the contracts you just tried to hook up on our lives and assets. And what? Give people a $300 a month per kid kickback if they keep quiet about it? I'm sorry, Texas teachers. You should have said something. I'm sorry, law enforcement in Texas. You should have said something. You know what? You should have come to each other's aid. You've had 10 years of this. You can't go down like this. You can't let them take you down like this. Unfortunately, it is as if Texas is the last stand for this country at this point in time. I don't really want to be here, but at the same time, it's really the only place to be, right? Are you going to go down like that? Are you going to let them completely desecrate everything and beat you down so bad and then just sign you up to be however long a term they let you live as a slave to some former president didn't even have the courage to say what he was doing? I'm serious. I believe that's exactly what they're trying to do. I did not agree, even if I voted for them, which is actually nobody's business, to let them or any of their special governor friends who might need a loaner make the people of this country into personal service vehicles for them or for any of their buddies in finance or private equity anywhere in the world. This is not acceptable. There's nothing legitimate about that. And it's a really, really sad day if, in fact, the DOD has been doing nothing more than using the Office of the Inspector General to compile illegal underwriting for really, really high-profile insurance policies that have now been proven to be completely fraudulent. That impacts the entirety of this country, and this impacts the entirety of anybody in the world that would have previously seen us as an ally. That is completely unacceptable. Please, shut it down today. Can you just do something like remotely human? You can do it. You can actually set a very big, very, very important term here by being responsible. You got 3 points. You got 3 points. You already know what to do. Every day this happens. Every day you have an option to move that you don't move on. You give yourself less and less excuses